Sprinting is considered by many people to be one of the best exercises for building a fantastic physique and improving performance. Sprinters are held on a pedestal for their awesome musculature, especially compared to their more long-distance counterparts. It has justifiably earned this position, and it's also fantastic for improving your performance across the board. It is a fundamental human movement, and in this video we're going to explore why you should be sprinting and how to get the very most out of it. So yeah, a lot of people will tell you that sprinting is an incredibly anabolic exercise, and this is very true. Sprinting builds big muscle, not only because you're training so many different parts of your body all at once, this is a truly compound exercise, but also because of the huge hormonal response, the increase in testosterone and growth hormone. So we'll start with this being a full body exercise. You might think of an exercise like the squat as being a compound movement, but it's got nothing on sprinting. When you sprint, you're not only, of course, driving power through your legs in an explosive manner, but even using your shoulders as you pump your arms forwards and back, even your pecs as you do adduct the arms slightly across the body as you're sprinting. And all of this is done in a highly explosive manner, training the fast twitch muscle fiber. So it's no surprise that this builds a lot of muscle. And in one study, it was actually found that sprint training could increase growth hormone production by 2,000%, which is absurd. Growth hormone not only being highly conducive to building muscle, but also highly conducive to longevity. It can help to counteract some of the negative effects of aging, improve healing and other benefits like that. However, before we get too carried away, people do sometimes forget that, for starters, this is a transient benefit. In other words, you have a huge hormonal response to sprinting, but it doesn't stick around. So whilst it will enhance muscle building, it won't necessarily provide you with all of those long-term benefits that you would get by elevating your baseline of testosterone or growth hormone. That's something that often gets missed. Another consideration is that sprinting does this, not because there's something magic about sprinting, but because it's training every muscle in the body together. But this also means that if you were to train full body and combine lots of different exercises, you'd get a similar benefit. This isn't to take anything away from sprinting, because what we have to remember is that we're getting all these benefits from just a single exercise, and it's highly functional. After all, this is a movement you might actually need to perform at some point in your life. It could even save your life, and if you never practice it, you'll lose the ability to perform it entirely. But perhaps the real value of sprinting comes from its highly explosive nature. Yeah, the other reason that sprinting is so powerful for changing your body composition is that it trains the fast twitch muscle fiber. Most people by now who watch this channel will be familiar with the concept, but fast twitch muscle fiber means that the larger muscle fibers and the larger motor units are being used to produce maximal power, but they're less energy efficient. So you use these for things like sprinting, jumping, punching. Use the slower ones for things like long distance running. But again, it's not quite that simple, because you actually use all of your slow twitch muscle fiber when sprinting as well, due to something called Henneman's size principle. Henneman's size principle says that we always use the smallest motor units first, then we add increasingly larger motor units on top as needed. That means that sprinting will train all of your slow twitch fiber as well as your fast twitch fiber. So when people say it only targets fast twitch fiber, it's kind of a misnomer. It's a minor point, but it does highlight one way we can improve our sprinting form and speed by purposefully training to fatigue the slow twitch fibers, which we can do with things like isometrics and very slow forms of training. The astute among you might have also figured out that this is why explosive exercise triggers a greater hormonal response than slower exercise. Because you're using the smaller motor units and the larger motor units. You're using a higher percentage of the total muscle. Again, you can accomplish something similar by using other explosive exercises. But name me a movement that lets you move as many body parts that explosively for that long, and with no need for external equipment to boot. Go on, I'll wait. Of course, there are limitations to using explosive movements like sprinting for hypertrophy. As a largely plyometric exercise, sprinting has minimal time under tension and minimal cross-bridging. It's also lacking in terms of eccentric load. But even still, there's nothing quite like sprinting for creating a ripped and powerful physique. The point is, though, that sprinting provides enough of a stimulus, enough resistance and power generation to encourage muscle growth and to increase your power output. And like I said, because it's training so many different body parts, so many muscles at once, this is a highly functional form of training that translates to a lot of different activities. In particular, it's really good for building tendon stiffness, specifically in the ankles. by strengthening your tendons around here, your ankle stiffness, you can actually return more energy to the ground without relying on muscular force by rebounding, essentially, using your tendons like little trampolines or power risers. This is something JC Santana talks about, and I've talked about it in the past on this channel, but this is actually the key to a lot of your athletic performance. Things like jumping. When you jump in sports, you don't do it from standing still. You don't drop down into a deep squat, usually. Instead, you jump from running. You take off from your foot, translating that forwards momentum and energy into upwards energy simply by tapping your ankle, your foot on the ground. And studies show there isn't actually that much plantar flexion in the foot during sprinting. So that's something it does. And it also trains something called the spinal engine. The spinal engine referring to the rotation of the spine that generates a lot of the power. So whilst you might think of this as a leg exercise, your torso's rotation actually drives a lot of that power. This translates to things like throwing, where you rotate your torso, things like punching. So sprinting truly is a highly functional exercise that will translate to better athletic performance across the board. By the way, guys, this video was sponsored by Vivo Barefoot. You guys, if you watch my channel regularly, know by now who Vivo Barefoot are. They make barefoot shoes, minimal shoes. That means shoes that have a thin sole so you can feel the ground underneath your feet. It means shoes with no heel, which means that you're not in a constantly tiptoes position, which is much better for mobility. It means a wider toe box so your toes can splay as you're running on the ground. Simply put, I wouldn't want to make a video about like this, running down steep hills over roots and things, if I wasn't wearing barefoot shoes. They give me far more proprioceptive feedback on the ground, make me far less likely to roll my ankle or injure myself like that, and at the same time means I'm getting more benefits by stabilizing my own ankles and hips, building more muscle, and using my feet and my legs the way they're supposed to be used. I'm a big advocate for this kind of training, and in my opinion, Vivo Barefoot make the best barefoot shoes out there. They're extremely good quality, they last for ages, they're really, really comfortable. That's the other great thing about minimal footwear, like it's light and it fits your foot like a slipper. I've recommended these to other people I know, and they all agree with me. When you come home after a long day, these are the only shoes where you don't feel like you need to take them off immediately. They come in a range of different styles, so you can go to the gym in them, you can go to work in them, you can do trail running in them. There's a different Vivo Barefoot shoe for pretty much everyone. And until the 7th of May, Bioneer viewers can get a big 25% discount by using code BIONEER25 at checkout. If you're watching after that, you can use my usual, the BIONEER15 code for 15% off. So check them out. Thanks once again to Vivo Barefoot for sponsoring this video, and on with the show. So sprinting, of course, is also really effective for weight loss and body recomposition. And in fact, studies suggest that it's anywhere from 40 to 95% more effective than steady state cardio for weight loss. This is, of course, because it's a form of resistance cardio, because you're also exerting force, pushing against something, your muscles are working harder. That means your heart and your cardiovascular system has to work harder as well, burning more energy. And sprinting, of course, is very useful. It's commonly used as part of high intensity interval training. Pretty much everyone is familiar by now with HIIT and its benefits. Basically, you're alternating between periods of intense exertion, max effort, and periods of active recovery. For example, you might sprint for a minute, and then you might recover for 2 to 4 minutes, and then repeat again several times. There's lots of different protocols you can use. Actually, you need to be doing max effort for this to get the full benefit. Often when people think they're doing high intensity interval training, they're actually not really, because they're not doing max effort. The point of high intensity interval training is to alternate between the anaerobic and aerobic energy systems. And if you're not doing that, then you're not switching between those two systems, you're not drawing energy from the different places, and you won't get the full benefits, such as those longevity benefits that can come from this type of training. So sprinting is perfect for this. But actually, another approach to this is something called high intensity repeat training. And here what you're going to do is sprint for 10 to 20 seconds, and then you're going to recover for up to 4 minutes, taking much more luxurious rest periods. You stop once you notice your max speed start to diminish, as this is when you no longer are generating maximum power. This is a form of sprint training that won't leave you completely depleted, and it's a great way to incorporate sprinting into your wider training program. Because as always, I recommend combining this with other forms of training. For more on this, check out the excellent article over at Breaking Muscle from Dr. Marker, or the video about that article from Mark's Daily Apple. I'll link both of them down below. And while we're at it, check out Movement Odyssey's video on sprinting too. That was another great resource for this video, and he makes the coolest stuff. I'm also a big fan of tempo runs. Tempo runs are running at around 75% effort. This is running just below your lactate threshold. It's basically the fastest speed you can maintain for a long period without getting completely burned out. And this is excellent because, I mean, that's the way that you would run for a long period quickly. I find it feels like I'm gliding, and this will massively boost your work capacity, your aerobic fitness for your other workouts, meaning it really fits more nicely into a nuanced program like that. So there are lots of different ways you can sprint, and there's something for everybody, no matter what kind of benefits you're looking for. Hill sprints also being another great example, which is lower impact while still allowing you to maintain maximum effort.
Running uphill creates significantly less impact on the ankles as you're striking the ground in a more dorsiflexed position. And at the same time, it also adds resistance to your run, thereby upping the intensity and building even more powerful calves.
Sprinting, as you can see, has countless benefits. You can use it in a number of different ways. I think truly everybody should sprint.
Unless of course you can't sprint, in which case I recommend either building up to this gradually or alternatively combining different exercises with max effort to get similar benefits.
Thank you so much for watching this one. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.